Hello everybody. I have got computer issues, man. Something happened to my laptop and it is freaking out. It was working right, now it's not working again. So I am doing this from my phone this time. We'll see how this goes. I apologize. Gonna be a little, I don't know what is actually going on with my computer. It's still happening. So anyhow, we're gonna just go with it like this. And we're going to see what happens. I'm really excited about this live too, because this one's about intimate relationships. And I'll tell you what, it's never easy with an intimate relationship, right? Trying to figure out how to figure that part of it out, right? You know, you hear some people say, well, relationships are work. Hello, Don. I'm of the agreement that relationships aren't work if you're in the proper relationship. Yes, you're constantly working with the person and stuff. Hello, Lisa. But you're not really necessarily having to work at it. So if you're finding yourself, yes, it is complicated. If you're finding yourself having to constantly work at your relationship, you might want to revisit your relationship, right? And what are some of the things that kind of go with this? So as you're joining, as Don and Lisa already have, say something in the comments, watching live, watching the replay maybe, and we'll just go with it from there. Let's see, what do I got? I got a whole bunch of notes all written down. It really comes down to communication, but it really comes down to awareness. Now, I talk about this, unfortunately, this is all going to be backwards for you because I'm doing it from my phone versus my laptop, but this is my book, Discovering Your Authentic Truth. It's an Amazon bestseller. It's still doing really well, and it's changed a lot of people's lives. Well, in chapter 22, it's entitled Intimate Relationships, but that's not actually the reason why I came up with that subject. The reason why I came up with that subject for today is that over this past weekend, if you know anything about my work, I do a lot of, or at least in the past, I haven't actually worked one-on-one with somebody in probably 4 or 5 years. I had somebody that reached out and was desperate earlier in the week, and she said, I am willing to fly out, spend the weekend with you, whatever it takes. I need to find the root cause of what's going on with me. And she's in an intimate relationship she's having challenges with. She had a lot of anger and other things going on within her. And I said, sure, if you're willing to fly out here, I'm willing to go to work with you and we'll figure it out. So we did. And she came out and she did. And we had amazing releases of anger, other issues that were going on. One of them was self-doubt. We replaced that with self-love, a limiting belief. There's actually an exercise on how to replace self-doubt with whatever that opposite is for that person. It turned out to be self-love. And we also did some empowering things. She was reacting a lot, with that anger and everything. So we guided her through a new behavior generator, which is a way to be able to help her respond rather than react. And now we'll wait for the report card to come in, right? See how it all is transferring over into her daily life. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen there. So what makes an intimate relationship work? Like I said, you hear that a lot. What makes it be work versus what doesn't? And that's what I kind of like you to think about. Now, through Facebook, I came across this author who reached out. And again, this is going to be backwards. Unfortunately, I apologize. But this author, Maureen Scanlon, and actually got a chance to talk with her on the phone today. We had a really nice conversation. She's got a series, 2 books out right now. Okay, these 2. The first one is My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am. And the second one is My Dog is My Relationship Coach, right? Well, this is really a cool book. And in fact, the person I was working with saw that I was reading this. She kidnapped the book for the weekend and finished it, but I am enjoying it. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because right in the very beginning on page 2, she brings up a great list of, let's break down into several mini questions and questions and statements, And it's predicated by, do I truly love this person or the idea of the person I want them to be? Right? How many times are we trying to fix somebody? Are we trying to change a person? Oh, you know what? We'll just go, and I know that person is going to become the person that I really want them to be. Ooh, boy, okay. You can kind of understand where I'm going with that one, right? All right, so some of these I'm not going to go through the whole list, but some of them on there, does it seem like a struggle to work every single time we are together? Right? Goes back to my first question. We've been together so long, I don't want to give up, right? It's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. How long are you going to live in the misery of trying to wait for that to happen, or you're waiting for that other person to change? We're going to get into a lot more detail on what that is all about, right? But that is a big fallacy. Chances are it ain't going to get better. If anything, it's probably going to continue to go downhill if that's the direction it's currently going. I'm not saying it necessarily will. And also, this all depends if you're married or not married. I mean, there's a lot of factors in here, but we're just talking in general. Again, I'm going to help that person change is another one on the list. Do I have to seek things that I like about them? There's some things I really don't like about them, but I'll just kind of ignore those, and I can find things that I really do like about this person, right? Because we've been involved in this relationship for a long time. We're going to make it happen, right? Do I love this person at their worst or only at their best, right? When they're having a really bad day, do you still find yourself loving that person? Or do you find yourself, oh my God, I got to get away from this person right now? That's something to think about. Let's see, the excuse list. I love this one. But he's a good dad. But she works hard. He's difficult, but. And the more that you have buts in there, the more challenges you're going to have, because that means there's out of alignment. And that's where I'm really headed towards with this life. And the big one, of course, is I don't want to be alone. So it's a really good book, and this one I really enjoyed too. So I'm really happy for Maureen. She's changing a lot of people's lives with her books. Okay, so now what else do I have in here? Like I said, it comes down to communication and awareness of your communication, and my chapter 16 in here is on awareness. And to me, that is the most important chapter in this whole book. We've already done lives on that as well. So let me skip forward to chapter 22, which is on intimate relationships. And in intimate relationships, oh boy, the results you're getting in life are driven by your behaviors. We've talked about this before as well. It's driven by your behaviors, or your actions, your daily actions, what you do on a daily basis, and the actions you take and the decisions that you make, right? And those decisions are based upon those behaviors. So your behaviors drive your actions, which drive your results. But what drives your behaviors are your core values. I've got throughout the entire book, we're talking about core values, right? So here's a really easy exercise to do with your partner or somebody that maybe you eventually want to find. At least do this with yourself so you know what you're looking for, all right? And that is to elicit at least what you believe your core values to be. Generally, they're not actually what your core values truly are. You have to do a full-blown value elicitation exercise like I did with this lady this past weekend. But you need you want to kind of try to unearth what you believe your core values around a relationship are. If you're married, what is the core values around marriage, right? If you're just looking for someone to date or to be your partner, what are your core values that you're looking for? In other words, is honesty, integrity, is character, are those important or not? Are you looking for just great sex? Is it you're looking for somebody that can offer you great sex in the bedroom? Is that a core value of yours that's so highly important? Are you looking for somebody that respects you in all ways? Are you looking for somebody that loves on you? Are you looking for somebody that does things for you without having to ask for it? Right? And that's going to get us into a couple other books, which I got further down, but I'm just going to cover it right now because it leads into it. My favorite book on relationships is Love and Respect. And in fact, the opening quote that I have for this chapter right up at the top here is this: when we are inwardly free, we can honor and love others. You can love others in ways that seem impossible. And that's from that book. And again, when you fall in love with yourself, everything else out there doesn't matter. One of the things that came up a lot over this weekend was this person was talking about he, this, he, that, he, this, he, that, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, stop. I said, if you're pointing out there's an issue in here. Because otherwise you would have made the decision to already leave that relationship if there's all these issues going on with that relationship. But I love him. Okay, great. You love him. But is it in alignment with who you truly are. Because if it's out of alignment, those arguments and that the discourse is going to continue on and on and on, right? In the book, Love and Respect, one of the highlights of it that I love is that it's very natural for the woman to love on the man and for the man to respect the woman. But unfortunately, that's not how it really works. In fact, the Bible says that the woman should honor and respect her man, and the man needs to love on the woman. So it's the opposite of what comes to us naturally. And I can tell you this, the thing that will lose your guy, if you happen to be a gal, that will lose your guy quicker than anything else is when you start disrespecting him or you lose respect for him. You will never get the love back from him because you don't respect him. So how is he going to be able to love on you? So the breakdown begins, all right? Or if he's not loving on you, it works vice versa, right? If he's not loving on you, you may lose respect for him, and it's a downward spiral from there. So that awareness, again, is really important to what's going on in the relationship at a deeper level. Now, a more simplistic book on this, which is super famous, and probably most of the people listening to this have already heard of it or read it, is The 5 Love Languages. The 5 Love Languages is a great book, and what it's really going after is your core values around a relationship. That's why that book works. It is so popular. There's 5 basic love languages, like acts of service. That's what's really most important to me. Or that connection with touch and feel is really important. Or words of affirmations, right? That's kind of the idea. Well, you're getting into the core values. That's why that book is so powerful, and I really recommend couples reading it at the same time, read a chapter, and then discuss it amongst yourselves. It's going to help start breaking down that barrier of getting that deeper communication going between the two of you, right? So when you were talking about color values, we're talking about things like, why we never really talk about politics and religion, right? If you're dating, and it happens, and we know people that are that way. One person is on the left side of the aisle, the other person's on the right side of the aisle, and they're able to make that relationship work. All right, so as long as there's awareness around it, it's okay. But if you're not aware about it, and politics is a great example, religion's another one. That's why you don't bring it up at family gatherings, right? Because it's going to drive the emotions because it's a core value. That's why when the emotions get really heated in a relationship and there's challenges, it's because of a difference in core values. So I kind of skipped over, but I was saying, write out what you think your top 3 core values are around a relationship. And then have your partner do the same thing without knowing him or her what you're doing. And then compare the 3, all right? Even if they're the same 3, which is rare, but even if they are, and they're in a different order than the 3 in your order, and your partners are same 3, but even out of disorder or a different order, you can have conflict in that relationship, believe it or not. And it doesn't mean that you can't make a good relationship work that way. It just means you need to have the awareness as to what's creating the conflicts or the arguments or the discourse in that relationship to begin with. And this is the reason why. And this is one of the reasons why I think dating apps can work well, and it has worked well for many, many couples. And that's because you're going through a whole series of questions. I've never been on a dating app, but from what I understand, they elicit a whole bunch of different questions from you so other person kind of learn about you, and then you start, communicating. Well, in that eliciting of those questions, you're kind of digging into core values. What do you value? What's more important to you? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? Those kinds of things, right? So you're looking for something that aligns. So these core values really, really are important. It was really interesting on the ride to the airport. So we had done the work, and now we're driving to the airport, and we got into a really deep discussion around all this. And one of the things was I don't want to give too much information because I want to protect this person, but they're looking to do something together as a couple because this is something that the gentleman really wants to do. And it's taking on a lot more responsibility between the two of them. And I'm like, whoa, stop right there. Do you understand? Let's start taking a look at maps of the world, take a look at core values and everything. If this person is having issues with you and you're having issues with him, but you think I know this is not the example, but I know people that they have kids because they think bringing a child into the world is going to unite them. It's something they both want, and that's going to solve all their problems, where generally it exasperates them because you've just added more responsibility into that relationship and you haven't gotten the basic core issues of that relationship fixed to begin with, right? Corrected at that core level. So they're talking about this item to do, or this thing to do, and I'm like, stop. I said, until you get this basic challenge corrected first, that may bring this partner happiness. It may bring you happiness, but it's temporary, right? We talked all about happiness and joy in another Facebook Live. And my belief is that the joy comes from within. And when you love yourself and you're connected with yourself, you attract that happiness. You don't need the physical object out there. You don't need necessarily that right partner to make you feel happy, right? Joy and happiness comes with a relationship. Obviously, it's a human need. But I'm not saying you go looking for the relationship to fall in love with yourself and to help make yourself feel better, right? It doesn't work. We all know that. Why are there so many broken relationships? Because there's so many people broken within themselves. And again, that's why this book is so vitally important for anybody that's searching for happiness and to fall in love with themselves. Again, this book will help teach you all of that, or at least bring awareness to you as to why it hasn't happened up into your life up until now, if that is what you've been searching for. So, all right, I could go on and on and on with this, but I think you kind of get the idea of what I was trying to address. It's all comes down to those core values. Know what you desire in life. And so I encourage you to at least spend some time thinking about what is the most important thing to you in a relationship. And maybe you've dated like 3 different people. And you like this part about that person, you like this part about that person, and oh yeah, and that one with that person. Well, those 3 things are probably your core values then. And what you're looking for is that all that wrapped up in one person, right? And you might go, well, that's an impossibility. I will never find that. No, that's not how the universe works. The universe works by imagining that exactly, knowing exactly what you're looking for in general terms. I want somebody that loves on me. I want somebody that thinks of me without me having to ask him to do certain things or something along those lines, right? Figure out what those 3 things are and then write something down about it so you can start imagining it and start attracting that into your life, and the right person will show up. You also want to honor each other's maps of the world. We don't all see the world the same. In fact, no 2 people see the world exactly the same way. So when you're talking about relationships, obviously the other person's going to see the world just a little bit different than you do. But when those core values are aligned, the differences are minimized. And there's a lot better chance that you guys can work through whatever challenges arise. And then the last thing I've got written down here, which is so vitally important, is don't react. If somebody pushes your buttons, walk away. Go for a walk, cool down, let the person know, you know what? I'm done. I know Elka and I have done this a couple times. We don't argue very often. We very rarely have fights. It was 7 years of our first 7 years of marriage before we ever had our real first disagreement. We went 7 years with none of that. I mean, we were just very, very fortunate, right? But we understand not everybody is that fortunate. And so what's really important, and when you do start getting into a disagreement, is to respond rather than react. And one of the best ways to respond is respond with a question. Well, what exactly do you mean by that? What specifically are you asking me? Or what specifically do you believe just happened with this event? Or why do you think I just did what I did? Those types of things. Now there's something else in here too. Back in the back part of my book, I talk about, sorry, I don't have it marked. There's another situation that with a lady that was going through challenges with her husband. It's in Empowering Questions chapter, which is chapter 24. So it's just behind that one. And you want to be playful. Well, it's not that one. I don't know. It's in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. A conversation about guilt. All right. Guilt's a real big one. You don't want to pass on guilt to other people. There's many other ways to handle that situation. And one of the things, you know, in the book I'm talking about, this lady was going to, if this guy doesn't stop what he's doing, which is drinking, an alcoholic, I'm going to leave him. And I'm like, well, that makes it all about you. That's not making it about the other person. So I give a whole technique here on page 282 of ways to ask these questions so that you're responding rather than reacting. All right. What is about me that makes you want to be around me? You know, what do you enjoy about me? What would happen if I were to leave? What would happen if you were all alone? What would happen? Why do you believe I would want to be here? What would make me leave? What would allow me to stay longer? So you're shifting it from you over to him. You're talking about yourself, but you're shifting the conversation so that he has to think, or she, the partner, has to think about what they're really saying when they're reacting. So that way you're responding. So like I say, yeah, it can be challenging. Relationships are. That's why there's so many challenges. That's why there's so many divorces. But I'll tell you what, yes, Dana, exactly. Open-ended questions are where it's all at. I can't stress that enough. And that will help you get out of that reacting mode and more into the responding. So I hope you got something out of that. And, I just wish and hope and pray for you to be either with the partner of your dreams or to be able to find them and attract them into your life. And I've just given you some really good techniques on how to start doing that for yourself. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and shut it down. Thanks, and welcome to June 1st, everybody. Hi, Pam. Nice to see you on here too. Bye.